Hello, good evening and welcome back. So everything is racist, and yes, that includes viruses. But first, some good news stories. So, parks and cemeteries must stay open, says Communities Minister. Yes, there is actually some more common sense here suggesting that, hey, you can actually maintain your distancing and be outside. Isn't that nice? That it seems that once there is sufficient pushback, they actually go, oh yeah, actually it's safe to do it. Not that, fine, do it, but you're at risk, but no, actually say, it's a good idea to do it. So when they're saying, oh, you can't do this, when we say, but we're going to anyway, they say, yeah, you're right, it's actually a good idea to do that. Which seems that they don't have the strength of their convictions, but also that they're just seeing how far they can go with it, and then pulling back when they realize they can't do it. Almost as if they're doing exactly what we thought they would do since the beginning, but at least they're pulling it back. And this is shown furthermore when, of course, we have that Thursday 8 o'clock virtue signalling clap, whoopee, whereby even the police get involved and they get everybody together in close proximity and applaud. And of course, when the police are on their own in their groups of 4 or 15 with no protective equipment, and then coming close to people who are on their own in parks, but they won't be doing this anymore, apparently. That obviously it seems to be a double standard, and that is really, well, it gets the noggin jogging, and it activates your almonds, knowing that the police will happily have people in close proximity to clap the NHS, but then if they're anywhere near each other or just out in the park not clapping the NHS at Thursday 8 p.m, then, oh, they're clearly a criminal. So it's not equal enforcement of the law. But speaking in number 10, he said people need parks, but they must observe social distancing and not congregate in groups. So yes, vitamin D and exercise and fresh air is actually very good for you. And as he said lockdown measures were harder for those without gardens or open spaces, and that they needed to be accessible for the health of the nation. Yes, actually getting clean air when it's an illness that affects your lungs is actually vitally important. And we've known that for about 100 years, given that the seaside town of Worthing actually used to be very popular. In fact, Oscar Wilde named a character of his after Worthing because they would go down there in order to get fresh air away from London. People have known that for a long time. They were sent away to get fresh air or sea air in order to help them recover from their ailment. And the same goes here, that we have to be able to go outside. We've known this since time immemorial, really. And it's only when the city's built up that we've realised that we needed to go back in order to get the fresh air. So good, we can actually get them. And yes, you can actually attend your funeral, seeing as the death of 13-year-old Ismail Mohammed Abdul Wahab, he could not be accompanied by his family at his funeral, which he says that is not right and shouldn't have happened. Well, we can all agree on that. Unfortunately, you can't delay a funeral like you can a marriage. Professor Stephen Power said it was critical PPE gets to NHS staff so they can follow the best possible guidance to its use. Mr. Jelinek said 400,000 gallons were arriving in the UK from Turkey on Sunday, being told that they had to reuse them. So with that in mind, seeing as they're getting this new stuff, and as they go on to mention with Captain Tom Moore's fundraising, it says, Mr. Jelinek thanked 99-year-old Captain Tom Moore, who has raised an astonishing £23 million for the NHS. Wow. Well, where's this going then? Good question. How will it be spent? Seeing as we said before, then is 7 million, it'll be spent in about half an hour. 23 million, that's brilliant. You get 1.5 hours of use. Yeah, but that's not going to make a dent. I mean, why are we trying to suggest that 23 million is such a life-changing amount, given that they spend 154 billion pounds a year? Yep, 54 billion, not million, but billion, 1,000 times as much. Well, it's because, of course, it makes people feel better and say that this is good and we should encourage charities. And if we actually encourage these charities to go to the particular places, then we'd all be better off and we could get rid of the fat, cut the fat, get rid of the excess bloat. As they're saying here, that because it's being done by charities into where it is needed, that apparently it's having a much better impact. Whether it will or not remains to be seen. Seeing as what they're doing, they're not saying, oh, we're going to be buying the equipment that we need in order to help. No, instead of that, they're saying that donations since the pandemic started have been used to help set up well-being spaces in hospitals. These include sleep pods, reclining chairs, and so-called wobble rooms, areas where staff have a safe space to release emotions after a traumatic experience such as losing a patient. Well-being packs included everyday items such as porridge, tea, or hand cream have also been given to staff, which one charity member said was like a hug in a box. The charity member, not someone who received it. But with the wobble rooms in mind, perhaps that explains why we see so many TikTok videos of them out dancing and, of course, not social distancing at all. But hey, it's deadly, of course. But it's most deadly for the ethnic minorities, because everything's racist, and you've got to point it all out. Thanks, Sarkeesian. I'm channeling my inner Sarkeesian. That it felt very weird. So coronavirus cases to be tracked by ethnicity, because they're not yet, and we've got to bring ethnicity into everything, and it gets better because then they're going to say, we should segregate them. Oh yes, they're really saying that. They're really saying that, it seems these ethnic minorities are weaker people, and they can't do the jobs of the white people. Which leads me to wonder about this whole soft bigotry of low expectations. So, Downing Street has commissioned an investigation into the issue. That is how serious they're taking it. Not, hey, we're all dying, we really need to all get on board, we need to work together, this is a terrible disease, it's a virus that's affecting the whole country, we're on lockdown, the economy's going to shit, we need to sort this out as quickly as possible, let's all pull together, let's get rid of our usual differences, we have a common enemy, it's an invisible enemy, it's not even human, we can get on board in order to eradicate this, all pull together, and we'll be better for it. No, they can't. Because, don't you know, there are different ethnicities, and they're most affected. They're also in the areas with the most dense populations, which are the areas of the UK most affected, as I went into detail in one of my recent videos. Depending on the borough you're looking at, there can be upwards of 70% minority ethnic. Hang on. 70% minority. How does that work again? But yes, of course. So it affects the ethnicities more. Okay, so if it's not because of where they're situated, in that case it's down to lifestyle choices then. So they're saying it's socioeconomic problems, in which case they're coming to a country and doing fuck all about it, and therefore not having a good situation, and they're blaming us for that. Bullshit. Or it's due to different health choices, more likely to be drinking or smoking, have diabetes, be overweight, less exercise, less hygienic, but all cultures are equal, in which case they're going to have suppressed immune systems in order to be able to fight off a virus, and therefore they're a higher rate of the casualties. Unless you believe that China is more so racist than just barring people from entering McDonald's, as we've seen them do, but on top of that, actually engineered it to affect the black people more. But as any self-respecting doctor would say, that yes, race does actually play a part in immune systems. For example, sickle cell anemia, as I've mentioned before, affecting Africans more so, as it seems to be a good way to stop malaria because of how it interacts with the hemoglobin, and the sickle cell doesn't permit it to be affected as much, which leads to a higher rate of survival. That yes, you do actually have to take into consideration the race or the ethnicity of the person that you are treating, because it will have a different response on them because of that. And that was, of course, something that was ignored for a long time, and saying, hey, you're treating us equally, instead of considering that our bodies might react differently as we're a different cultural ethnicity. They go, okay, fine, we'll do that. It's like, oh yeah, you're actually right. You are different. We do actually need to treat you differently than we would white people. Fair enough. They said, hey, now you're treating us differently. We don't want this different medicine. We want the white man's medicine. It's like, yeah, but it's not going to be as effective because you wanted us to treat you differently. And you were right. You know, it does actually make a difference. So you're going to be affected differently. So maybe that's it. So it's either laziness, bad culture practices of health and well-being, or race realism. Seeing as the Intensive Care National Audit and Research Centre found that 34% of more than 4,800 critically ill patients with COVID-19 identified as black, Asian or minority ethnic, despite only 14% of people in England and Wales being from ethnic minority backgrounds, according to the 2011 census. But if you go to the areas which are most densely populated, then you'll see it correlates quite well, with London, of course, being higher than 34%, almost 50% now, 14 of the 22 boroughs being minority white British, that is. Risk assess certain groups, and this is where it gets so fantastic. So Dr. Chand Nagpal Beautiful British name. Chair of the British Medical Association. Great. Said it was vital to find out why ethnic minorities are disproportionately affected. We must do everything we can now to prevent further deaths, he said. We may need to... This is it. This is where it gets juicy, boys. We may need to risk assess certain groups of NHS workers. If they are older or of other medical conditions, they should be shielded and prevented from exposure to the virus. Yes, maybe we can't put the ethnic minorities into those positions because, they just can't handle it, guys. We're going to have to put the white people there. So you're either protecting the ethnic minorities because they're weaker, according to your opinion, or because they're more valued than the white people. Or both. I mean, it's probably both. You probably think that they're weaker and more valued. Probably more valued because they're weaker, because that seems to be how the leftists think. We should exalt the vulnerable. Not the venerable. Dr. Nagpal, I have no idea if I'm saying his name right, but who cares, said there was not enough data on why there was greater illness and deaths being seen in ethnic minorities because it wasn't routinely collected. Oh, we treat everybody equally, that's good. He also said death certificates currently don't have information on ethnicity. Cool. So it is not possible to see if other factors have played a part. Tamira Harvey, who lost her father Thomas, told BBC she was worried personal protective equipment was being prioritised for white members of staff. Well, if you want white people to be at the front, then surely that's going to be the case. If it's going to be the places where they're most affected, then of course that's going to be the case. But yes, of course, let's cry racism. Let's not look into it and say this is how it all breaks down and we're all understaffed, we're underfunded, we have been almost since our inception. Seeing as, of course, that the dental thing went wrong after the beverage report when it first came out. Like, yes, I'm getting new teeth for Christmas because it's the NHS. It's like, well, shit. We've only just started it and it's already gone to shit. But hey, let's keep on for the next 70 years. Some good might come of this, won't it, guys? So, I'm X to doubt on that. I'm going to do a very strong X to doubt. So they say it's not the right treatment because, they're clearly prioritising white people, seeing as, hey, when the old person came in, they died. No way. An 82-year-old who had high blood pressure died after being placed on a continuous positive airway pressure machine, ventilator. No way. She clearly wasn't being given the right treatment that the white people would have done. No. It's definitely not old and pre-existing conditions. Definitely not. But it gets better. It gets so much better. Let's just bring in let's bring in the 1350 rule. Why not? Let's just bring in how the ethnic minorities don't seem to respect the rule of law in the UK. But let's actually have it from someone else. Deshane Murray, 25, from the West Midlands, said she was concerned about ridiculous suggestions on social media suggesting black people could not contract the disease. The bioengineering PhD student from Imperial College London... Intelligent lady? Yeah. So the government needed to do more to reach communities who historically already have distrust of certain authorities. They're just so woke, aren't they? They're just on it. Wow. Who's been handing out red pills in the West Midlands? This is great. Like, yeah, you're right. It seems that they don't respect the British authorities or the rule of law. I can't believe you're admitting this. And the BBC is publishing it and actually seem to be endorsing you. Well, thank you. I don't think you're aware of what you're saying, but well done for saying it. I'm sure people reading it actually understand what you're saying. But they do go on to say, one thing very visible to us in London intensive care units now is how diabetes, high blood pressure, and possibly being a little overweight seems to be such potent risk factors for having a severe lung illness. Perhaps even more so than having an existing lung disease, which you would think would be a greater risk. And yes, the overweightness and obesity is a much, much bigger problem than people seem to think. Because not only is it, of course, squashing your organs and contracting your vessels so that the blood can't get around as efficiently as it could do, putting your oxygen around, but it also prevents the regular functions of your body because of the amount of crap that you have in your body. Not least because the reason you're fat is very unlikely to be because you've been eating too much broccoli. I mean, come on now. It's going to be because you've been eating, I wouldn't go as far as to say toxic foods, but foods that your body needs a lot of energy and work in order to digest and break down and use the little remnants of nutrients left in the crisps. So, and then any of the nutrients that are left after the butchers have swept up the floor, put it into the meat grinder, and made their cheap, ready-to-go burgers. Yeah, anything there, any of those floor minerals that you've got kicking about, they're going to be fantastic. That, of course, yes, your body's going to struggle to deal with that more. And also why fasting is useful and is actually been in place for centuries, if not millennia, all the way around the world, because people find it useful. That if you have been eating things that your body isn't responding to so well with your gut microbiome, as the cool kids on the block like to say, then you actually need to take a break from food, and your body can then go, we can reset. We don't have to deal with the intolerances the way we're reacting to it negatively. And intolerance is almost like an allergy, but obviously not quite. But your body is reacting in a non-useful way, and therefore if you give it a rest, kind of like an extreme elimination diet of just having water, then your body can recover. And that's what we're looking for here. Because until then, you're really clogging it up, and it's very difficult for your body to actually function. So Dr. Patel goes on to say, all of these risk factors are more common in Black and Asian patients, so there could be a link here which needs further explanation. Seeing as the research on critical care patients with COVID-19 also found, the average of patients was 59.5 years. Okay, so not very elderly, but older. There were nearly 3 times the number of men as women, 72% male, 27.9% female. Oh no, you know what that means. Oh no. They've already mentioned that it's racist. No, they're going to say it's 0.1% transgender, therefore it's disproportionately high. Because I wonder where that 0.1% came from. And I wonder if it was even there, or if it was just one person and they're like, well, shit, we can't use integers, even though it's basically a rounding error. We have to include this transgender person, otherwise they'll feel left out, and we're very progressive here at the BBC. I'm looking forward to that headline. It affects transgenders most. Oh, is it because you've changed your hormones and you've suppressed your body's normal operating, and therefore your immune system is also suppressed, and therefore you're more vulnerable to any disease? Well, let's wait and see. More than a third were overweight with a BMI of between 25 and 30, and 38% were obese with a BMI of over 30. BMI of over 25, saying you're overweight, you could just be very muscular, because BMI is just your weight in kilograms divided by your height in meters squared. Yeah, body fat percentage would be better, split amongst men and women, because they have different body fat percentages, given that, of course, women have breasts and men have more testosterone. That's why men are better athletes, unless it's marathon swimming, in which case women are better because they've got more fat and fat floats. And the younger the patient, the more likely they were to survive. Hence, the average of patients was 59.5 years. But hey, good news, parks and funerals remain open. The NHS staff are getting some wobble rooms to go dancing, and Downing Street has commissioned an investigation into why the black people, the Asians, are worst affected by a virus made by the CCP. Woo! Gotta love Clown World. So until next time, have a good one.